Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Echoplex Media. We talk about tech news, science news, and we make fun of Elon Musk, which will probably happen again today. I am historian Matt. I usually talk about tech or science news, but today I'm doing something a little bit different. It's about security stuff. So if you haven't heard about it on the internet, but Linus Tech Tips got hacked, and we'll talk about what happened and what you can do to avoid it yourself. So, you with the pink mic now. We don't hear you at all.
Whoops, sorry about that. My name is HK Perrin, and I'm a software engineer, and I cover software engineering news. And this week I've got two stories. First story is that Mastodon hit 10 million users. So that's really exciting, especially since I'm a recent Mastodon a recent Twitter refugee that landed at Mastodon, and very happy there. And my second story is Svelte, the front-end library that I'm using, is throwing a hackathon with some non-Svelte prizes. So those are my stories. Next.
I'm producer Dave. I'm the producer of this and every show on here on Echoplex Media. This week I have a story about Neuralink, and then a story about the French government and the apps they're allowing on government-issued devices. So take it away, Matt.
All right. So like I said, Linus Tech Tips was hacked last week, and they had their stream replaced with a crypto scam featuring Elon Musk. And to be clear, like, Elon Musk had nothing to do with the scam. These scammers who do these like crypto scams with the stream stuff, they like to use his image and his name because, you know, lots of people follow him and he's very popular, especially with tech community. So it sounds legit and stuff, but it's not. So if you ever see like a stream with Elon Musk and talking about crypto stuff, I mean, it could be legitimate, but it's likely a scammer. So just be aware of that. So Linus Tech Tips, if you didn't know about that, they're like one of the biggest tech news and general shows on YouTube. They're very popular. They've been around for quite a long time. So it's kind of surprising that I got hacked because they talk about securing your computers and stuff all the time. But in this case, like, you know, even though they talk a lot about two-factor authentication and using that to secure your websites and stuff like your YouTube account, the scammers are actually able to get around two-factor authentication. What they actually did, the scammers were able to do what's they jack the session token. It's sort of like a session hijacking is what I think it's what it's called. But it's basically they're able to grab the session token from one of the employees, one of Linus's employees, not Linus himself, but one of the employees. They didn't say who it was. They did say that it was probably somebody on the marketing side or something, because they think it was a sponsorship scam where somebody downloaded what looked like a file from a potential sponsor, but instead was an executable that grabbed the session token. So this is something that's really hard to protect against, besides, you know, logging out basically. And YouTube and Google don't do a very good job of, you know, making the scam hard to do, because there's stuff that they can do on their end that would make it like a lot harder for people to break into your account this way. But if you want to learn more about what happened, you know, Linus on the Linus Tech Tips web video channel on YouTube has a full video up there with everything, you know, detailing everything that happened. I have the link in the show notes. You'll have Linus himself talking about what happened and all the details, including pictures of him naked running around his house trying to fix the problem, you know, if you're into that sort of thing. Also, I added another link to a video by Theo Joe, who apparently just a few weeks or maybe like a month ago posted a video on exactly this hack, and Linus actually references it himself and said if he had seen it, probably would have been able to maybe not avoid the hack, but get stuff fixed a lot easier, a lot faster, figure out what's going on. So I really do recommend definitely seeing the Theo Joe video, if not the Linus one. What do you guys think? This is a pretty common hack. I've seen a number of streams of this. A while ago, this was going around a lot with lots of different big streaming channels getting hacked.
Yeah. There are a couple ways to protect against this that I know Microsoft does do, but maybe in this particular case that wasn't enough. But Apple does it as well, and Linux you don't really need to do it because it's not a problem in the first place. But when you download something that is an executable to your computer on Mac and on Windows, if you just double click it, it'll execute it. On Linux, if you double click it, it won't execute it. It'll try and open it in like a program. You have to go into the like file properties and tell it that you want to execute it before it actually will execute it. So on Windows and Mac, what they'll do is they added this other flag that basically means this file was downloaded by a browser from this website. So what will happen is you'll download a file and the browser will add that little flag to that file, and when you double click it, the file manager before it executes that will ask you, hey, this thing was downloaded from the internet, from this website. Are you sure you want to execute it? You know, executables could harm your computer.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know why it didn't happen in this case, that you know, took place and prevented this issue.
I don't know about that. You should watch the Theo Joe's video, because they were doing some funky stuff with the name of the file to give it that extension, but it doesn't look like it has that extension. It's actually really devious. I was kind of surprised that you know, that it worked so well. I don't download stuff on Windows much anymore anyway. And when I do, I'm very careful about that for just that reason. I don't remember it ever, you know, I haven't really downloaded anything recently that was a file to executable on my Windows box in a while. So I don't.
Well, I mean, to be clear, this could happen on Linux. There's not really like a technical reason that it couldn't.
Yeah.
For example, you could be asked to download a tar and unzip the tar or untar the tar, and that could set that executable bit, and then you double click on it and it would load. But like, first of all, Linux users generally aren't targets of these because it's not a big enough target to actually aim for. And then second, it's like, you know, if you give someone a tar and they're untarring it and then double clicking on a file, like they're probably going to sense something's up at that point.
Yeah, like I was going to say, if you get this executable and you get it on a Linux box, the executable is probably going to be a Windows or possibly a Mac executable, so it's not even going to run on your box anyway. If it's like a bat file, sure, I guess you could run like some kind of script, I guess it could run. But I just don't see. Yeah, it would be dumb to try to target Linux users with this. You wouldn't get anybody. First of all, most people that you attempt to do this to aren't going to have Linux in the first place. So there you've like gotten rid of most of that. And yeah, if somebody sends me a random tarball, I'm not opening it. I'll be like, why are you sending me a random tarball? Can you link me? Like, if it's like marketing material, I'm like, can you link me to like the photos or like a Google Doc about, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not interested in getting files. The only thing I'll ever download actually is if people send me music, but those are like people in our local music community, and I doubt any of them have included anything in their MP3 file that's going to own my system or send them. Well, MP3s don't phone home, do they?
Well, you also know them, and I assume you know their emails as well. You've been talking to them, and you're talking to them. So you have that, at least that sort of security.
We may not know them initially.
Yeah.
Right. We get from people we've never met before, but it's always like links to music. And again, if they were going to try to include something in their music file to get people, they would assume correctly that most people are running Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that we should bring up, that I was just thinking about is like, if this happens to you, if you feel like you are being, like your account is being hijacked, one of the first things you should do, I mean, obviously you should change your password, but you should also invalidate all of the sessions that are currently open. I know there is a way to do that in Google. I would assume that there's a way to do that in, the service that that Linus is using, because he doesn't go directly through YouTube. He goes through another service that handles his
and
YouTube
he kind of talked about it. He said he didn't know how to do that, or initially he didn't realize that was the issue, but
but even when he did, it took him a while to invalidate that session. So you should learn how to invalidate session tokens, or sometimes it's called expire them, or just like sign out of all sessions. And that's the second step you should do if you think you're being hacked. First step is change your passwords. Second step is invalidate all sessions.
Right, because the worst that's going to happen if you invalidate sessions is the people that you work with are going to be annoyed. Have to relog in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, if you have other people on your team, don't they? I don't know how it works. It just probably depends on how the thing is structured. Like, could you invalidate a session token from somebody logged in under a different email address? I don't know. Because for example, just on DigitalOcean, HK, I think you're on the team. And so you log in with your email account for our DigitalOcean. I don't know if you ever signed up for it, but that's how that works. So I don't know if I would be able to go in and invalidate your session.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. But yeah, the way they work, it's probably what's going on is these are JSON web tokens. Which is kind of the industry standard of session tokens. And the whole idea behind a JSON web token is that the server can be kind of dumb in regards to your session. Your session is ephemeral and it passes between servers effortlessly. There's no state on the server that your session exists in. So rather than giving like a session ID, you give this session token that contains like your credentials encrypted and signed. So like you could see that a session token is for you, but it doesn't have your password. And if you alter who you are, like if you say like, I'm not Dave, I'm Matt, then when you send that to the server will go, okay, you claim to be Matt. Let me check the signature. Nope, that signature is not for this token. So you've changed the token. You're not really Dave or Matt or whatever.
Right. It doesn't tell you that though. It takes you to wherever you are, wherever you're going, assuming that it's a public page. It just takes you there, but you're not logged in. Right. Like it doesn't come back and scold you. Like
it might give you a 401 or a 403, but it won't let you through basically. So another thing that these JSON web tokens can have is an issued at date. It's in a field called IAT, stands for issued at. And essentially there's two ways to invalidate a token, kind of. One involves like actually remembering every token that was given out and individually invalidating them, which is what like Google does. It's what Amazon does. If you sign into your account and it shows you, like it lists all of your sessions, then that's what it's doing. It's saving that session token, and you can individually sign those devices out. Another way is just to say, like, expire all sessions right now, and the server will just issue you a new token since you're the one making the request, and it'll put a flag in your account saying essentially any token that was issued before right now, before this date, before this time, is invalid.
What's one of the cooler things, and I actually like it, is the Squarespace, where our website is, in the settings, it doesn't use this language, but it basically asks you, like, how often would you be okay having to relog in, right? So for me, I do 15 days. I'm fine with having to re-enter my credentials and go through two-factor authentication every 2 weeks on the main website for this project, right? That is fine with me. It is not inconvenient. Authy is great. Like, it's fine. But other people, maybe it's just for their family photos and they don't care, and you can set it to up to a year. And I think maybe more of these sites should do that. And I don't know, maybe it's buried in the settings somewhere. But for example, for the Google account, for our main one, for the domain, I would also like everyone's session to expire every 15 days because woe is me, I have to relog in. Like,
Google accounts, I believe, never expire. Google sessions, because, like, you know, I've turned on a phone that was off for 3 years, and my Google account's still logged in. So I'm pretty sure Google accounts never expire. But the way that my system works, I have a system called Tilmel that I use for a lot of my services that I create. And the way it works, I think, is kind of like the industry standard, where you're given a web token, a JSON web token, and that has an expiry date of, let's say, 6 months, right? So if you were to leave your system off for 6 months and turn it back on, you'll be asked to sign in again. But there's also another date where past that date, in other words, like, when you send your session, it checks, all right, are we past the point where you only have 2 months left before this expires? Yes, we're past that point. Okay, just issue you a new token that expires 6 months from now. So if you're signing in every week, you'll never have to sign in again. Like, if you're going on your account every week, you'll never have to sign in again. But if you don't go on your account for 6 months and then you come back to it, you're signed out.
I think it should just kick you every 6. I mean, 6 months is a long time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the inconvenience.
Well, these are in my system. You can change the durations.
Because I can't imagine being incredibly inconvenienced by having to, like, relog in after 6 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine it, because you should be using a password manager, and you should be using something like Authy for your second factor. And if you're doing that, logging into something is easy. You don't even have to really do anything to log in.
Yeah, but even that wouldn't have prevented this situation here, because that was an active token. So even if, you know, that token was set to expire in 5 days, it still gives them 5 days to have complete control over the account.
And these tokens, apparently, they don't have any like machine identifier, right? Like, that's why they were able to use it somewhere else. The token doesn't there's nothing that it does to check that it's on the same machine, right?
Yeah. Well, what's supposed to happen?
Apparently they don't, but they could.
What other companies will do is, if the session suddenly shows up in a computer that they detect is like in a totally different place geographically, like on the other side of the world or something, it could invalidate the session. But Google probably doesn't want to do that, because people are, you know, flying around with their phone making videos all over the world, and that's the reason why they might not want to do that. Now, it'd be nice if you could go in and tell it, like, hey, even though you like to make it easy, if my session shows up on the other side of the world, go ahead and invalidate it. And if it's really me, I'll just log back in. It's not a big deal.
I think something like that, and then something that identifies the device, like some kind of way to check and make sure. Like, on my computer, like the motherboard model, just something stupid. Like, how much RAM does this system have? Like dumb things like that.
That is an issue, because if you have something like that that's accessible to JavaScript, it can be used to track you across the internet. It's called browser fingerprinting. And there are things that can do that. Like, for example, your screen size, how big your screen is something that's accessible to JavaScript. And that could be used along with some other things to basically build an ID of your system, a fingerprint of your system. And then you can be tracked going across multiple websites.
Oh, baby, that ship has already sailed. Baby, that ship has already sailed. I'm like, oh no, the internet's tracking me. Yes.
I mean, I'm cool with just like IP geofencing. Just say like, if my token, which was used to log in the United States, 15 minutes ago, is now being used to log in like, I don't know, Indonesia. Like, I didn't make it to Indonesia in 15 minutes.
Right.
Fuck that. If it's outside maybe 100 feet of my house, I think it should be invalidated.
Well, and I
Look,
think
Google, I'm not even going outside. Come on now.
I mean, seriously, like, I just have to log in again. It's not that big of a deal, right? I'd rather have the security, but then again, that's just me.
I understand the privacy implication, but there's got to be a way for the machine to basically spit out some kind of number, right? That it gives to these tokens, and then the token.
I mean, there is, but then you could just duplicate the number. If you're attacking someone's system, if you have access to their system, then you have access to whatever number it could produce for you, and you can just regenerate.
The token is basically a number itself, but
I don't know. I think something can be done about this, but I also, I think the problem there was it was the person who was working on the project wasn't doing best practices as far as security stuff. I think that's the main issue.
They did say that Linus did say they're going to do some more training with everybody in the company, and he said that he needed training because he didn't respond to it very well. So they're working on it, and they gave some good tips in the video, so everybody should watch that.
Yeah, another thing you can do is use the age of a token to determine the ability to do administrative tasks. So basically, if you are trying to do something that is like a top level thing, say change your password, right? That is something that should only be done if your identity has been verified immediately.
I think
so.
Facebook
You could
does
check: is this token like within 10 minutes old? Was it issued less than 10 minutes ago?
Funny enough, I think.
Okay, let them do it. No, okay, make them re-enter their password and just issue them a new token, and then they can do it.
Yeah, I think Facebook does that. Facebook.
Okay, yeah. Any place that makes you re-enter your password before you go into
eBay,
like certain sections of the settings.
PayPal. Yeah,
that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if YouTube did that in this case, but it should have.
Yeah, I don't use YouTube, or I don't change anything important in YouTube often enough, but I've definitely had Twitch kick me out when I tried, like when you do your sort of, I guess I call it like hygiene, right? You change your passwords every 6 months for things or whatever, and Twitch will kick you off. If you go to change the password, it makes you log in before you do it.
Yeah.
You would think that Google would do that too, like because Google actually makes me log in. Like, for example, even if it doesn't matter what I'm doing, if I go to like passwords.google.com, it re-authenticates me, right? If like for some reason I don't have a password stored in LastPass for whatever reason, and maybe it's something I browsed to on my phone and it didn't get saved or whatever, and I created the account on my phone, if I want that password, I'm logging back into Google or I'm not getting it. And so it's pretty weird that somebody was able to make like pretty broad and sweeping changes to someone's account on YouTube without logging back in.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, don't open things. Don't run any executables. Only accept attachments. In fact, you should only accept it not only from someone you trust, but someone like that you have verified. They're like, hey, I'm going to send you a file.
Yeah.
Then you get the file 5 minutes later. Fair enough to assume that that person sent it to you. But if I get an email from either of you guys with an attachment, I'm probably going to hit you up on Discord, be like, could you send that to me some other way?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that email itself is necessarily dangerous. It's that, Windows does certain things to try and make it more user friendly. And the more it makes things user friendly, the more it makes things difficult to be safe. If you're putting some amount of friction in between a user attempting to do something that could harm their computer and the user actually performing that action, like you're making it more user unfriendly, but you're keeping them safe. And that's kind of like why Windows will ask you if you're trying to install something. It'll make you click hey, this thing's going to change something on your computer. Are you okay with that? It's trying to put a little bit of friction in between. But one of the things that Windows did that is it still to this day boggles my mind is they made it so that file extensions were hidden by default. And that's so fucking stupid. That is so monumentally stupid. Because now it's just I want to trick someone into running a program. I'll just name it, cutekittens.jpeg.exe. And then I'll email it to them. They'll download it and they'll see cutekittens.jpg. Oh, that's an image. Double click. Now I have access to their computer.
Right. And if they don't know, if they're like, would you like to run this? You're like, well, yeah, it's a JPEG. Because not everybody knows. It's really funny because the only thing I install on a Windows computer ever is Serato. And I wish I could just sometimes I'm like, yes, Windows, I've only ever installed Serato on this computer. I would like to install the new version of Serato that probably doesn't give me anything new and interesting. And but I don't really care that much. I just know to click yes because I know where it came. I know what it is. It came from Serato's website. But yeah, it's bad. But on the other hand, I guess it's not good that it happened to this guy, but if it's going to happen to a YouTuber or whatever, a popular YouTuber, it's better that it happens to somebody who understands what the fuck just happened and can explain to their audience what just happened than some random travel influencer or whatever. Not that, this shouldn't be happening to anybody, but at least this person is able to go back through and, here's what I did wrong. Here's what we're doing. Here's what you should never do that I did. Here's the things you need to know. At least that's there. At least that happened.
Well, plus the viewers of Linus Tech Tips, a lot of them are technically savvy and were helping out others, letting them know what was going on and letting them know what was going on.
Yeah.
So
the information spreads more quickly, we'll call it the information aftermarket, right?
Yeah.
The second, the game of telephone might go longer among an audience that's tech savvy. Yeah, for sure. Well, that was a great story. I'm not surprised we ended up talking that much about it. Let's move on though. HK.
All right. So, just about a little over a week ago, I think about 9 days ago, Mastodon hit 10 million users, which is a big milestone. Mastodon itself doesn't really have any sort of practical user count. This number is not accurate. Just let's get that out of the way. You can't measure Mastodon's user count accurately because certain websites block other websites. So those websites can't see the full user count. I mean, it would be like trying to measure all email users. It's just not feasible. But the users that Mastodon.social can see, which are most of Mastodon, just hit 10 million users, which is a huge deal. Mastodon is growing in popularity. It, in case you're unaware, it is a federated social network similar to Twitter. So you have things that act just like tweets. They call them toots on Mastodon, which is
A great
not the
name.
best name. I
great
prefer to
name.
call them posts. But it uses a protocol called ActivityPub, and anything that runs ActivityPub, anything that uses this protocol, can talk to Mastodon. So this isn't necessarily measuring users of Mastodon proper. It's measuring users of ActivityPub. So really, the story should be more ActivityPub just hit 10 million users. And as of this recording right now, Mastodon currently has 10,338,874 users by that user count bot's estimate. Or I should say, ActivityPub has 10,338,000 users. So it's growing fast, which is awesome. I love to see it. And if you want to join Mastodon, you can join our own personal instance, which is port87.social. It's just running, bare Mastodon, vanilla Mastodon. So come and join us.
It's a great place
What do
to
you guys
land.
think?
The server's fast, and if you have any questions, the people on the server are going to be inclined to help you. So,
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. I just wonder, how much of this is like bot activity, because I do like when I go into Federated, I do see like more and more things that I assume are bots. And I say this as somebody who runs an account on Port 87 Social that is essentially a bot, the Echoplex Media account. It feeds from if this then that and other webhooks.
Yep.
So, but that's okay because it says right next to it that that's what it does. So that's actually fine. Like it's okay to run a bot. Just say that it's just. I think it says right next to it bot.
Yeah. What in ActivityPub, the nomenclature is actor. So every user is an actor, and an actor can have a type, and that type can be something like a person. It can be something like a group, or for bots, it can be something like an application. So under type, under that account, it probably, I haven't verified, but it probably says application.
Yeah, because I don't ever really log into it. It just pushes things from other things, and I don't think anybody follows it. But I actually don't even know. I haven't checked. But this is pretty good news because as Twitter becomes more and more Frankenstein's monster, I suppose, people are going to be looking for somewhere to go. I don't know if Mastodon's going to be it. I hope it is, because I'm a big fan of open source software. I like the idea that it's federated. And I like the idea that you can have your own community with your own rules and go in and be like, I'm actually going to keep my users safe. I don't want them to see this, for example, idw.social, right? Or or nickfuentes.mastodon or
yeah, basically the way I view moderation on that instance, port87.social, is if another instance allows things that I wouldn't allow on my instance, I will defederate from them. In other words, I'll either limit them if it's something that's not like illegal, or I'll suspend them. Limited basically means you won't see them in your local feed. You won't see them unless you specifically follow someone on that instance.
right.
So you search for exactly their name and then you follow them. Then you'll see their stuff in your feed. And then suspend just means you can't even see them. So like there are sites that allow things that I consider immoral, and for those I will suspend them. So our server just doesn't even talk to their server.
Right. Whereas I think IDW social, you would just be like, well, you can go ahead and follow them by yourself if you want. Right.
Yeah, like I might limit them if they don't have, like, for example, a lot of the servers that are like, freeze peach. A lot of those servers don't have rules against harassing other users or hate speech. For example, they'll allow someone to use like racial slurs or sexist terms. And for those, I would just limit them because that's not illegal, but it's not something I would want my users to see in their feed.
Right. To randomly encounter. Yeah. But if you have, if if you have people in that case, like too, if you have people who are maybe on your server and they're monitoring extremism on Mastodon, you would want to let them do their job. And so they would have they would be able to go look at what's going on in that from users on that server. They would just have to intentionally do it.
Yeah.
And I assume you would just you'd unfederate Facebook if they ever try to do their version.
Facebook I would suspend because they're not that I think that they would let anything illegal on, but Facebook uses what's called embrace, extend, extinguish, which I think I've talked about on a previous episode of this show. And I know that hopefully not when, Facebook joins ActivityPub, the Fediverse, their goal will be to destroy the Fediverse.
Yeah.
Their goal, just like when they joined XMPP, will be suck out all the users we can out of this open protocol, get all these users over to our platform and then close the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't extinguish what you can't see. So if everybody just goes, nope, blocked, sorry. Well, you can't really embrace it if you can't see it. So the first step, you can't even get to the first step.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, Facebook has gotten really bad recently. They their algorithm that's supposed to know everything about me has decided that I really want to see posts from Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh.
No, that's the thing is what they're selling Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh is access to you, right?
I know.
So they're putting in they're finding what I imagine they're doing is they're trying to peel off maybe people like you by putting in some, interest groups that might generally appeal to liberals or like people like of the left. And they're like, but we can peel some of these people off because they're into video games, they're into computers, they're a software engineer, they've whatever research they've done, because they have a lot of money. And so they can certainly spot trends and figure out who they're able to peel off. I see that stuff too. And I think it's because Facebook figured out, they want access maybe to me because I'm a podcaster. And they may include that in what they want to target their audience for their ad. So, yeah, Facebook isn't giving that to you because they think you want it. They're giving that to you because Daily Wire paid them to give you that ad.
Yeah.
I get a lot of crypto scam ads still, which is really weird.
I don't get many of those actually, which I'm kind of surprised about. That I would expect from some of the people I follow, but
also
I don't get any ads from Facebook.
Yeah, you don't even use it. A lot of supplement ads too. A lot of supplement ads.
Close.
No essential oils though. Facebook doesn't think I'm basic, so that's good.
It thinks I'm really into football, and I don't know why. Because every time I see an ad for football, I close it immediately, and it still gives me more ads for football.
I think that might be
close ads on Facebook.
Yeah, you can tell it. I don't want to see
X. You can just close it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
They might just be targeting Floridians. You know what I mean?
Well, I think they figured out that I'm a white male, so they assume that I like football.
Yeah, or maybe they're something about your geographical area. There's a lot of people who are into football.
Yeah, that's also where I'm at in Florida. Football is very, very popular.
Yeah, so it might be. I mean, there's any number of reasons, but it isn't because Facebook thinks you want to see the ad. It's because they want to serve that ad to somebody that will pay them to serve that to you. So that's
I understand.
Yeah, it's a mess. What's great you can do on Twitter though is every time you see an ad, you just block whoever's doing an ad, and then eventually you don't get any ads because you've blocked, or they're like the remaining 35 people who advertise on Twitter. I don't really think it's only 35, but you can seriously reduce the number of ads you see on Twitter by blocking anyone who tries to advertise to you on there. I don't think that works on Facebook just because they sell so damn many ads.
You can't block the ads on Facebook.
You can
tell you're not interested, but it doesn't seem to really work.
You can block the ads on Facebook.
Purity.
Like you can use an ad blocker, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't tried that.
not for nothing. The Facebook ads, like a regular ad blocker, isn't going to work. You're going to have to get like a Facebook specific ad blocker.
Yeah.
And then those aren't always the best things extensions to install on your browser. Like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
like you know what I mean? Those aren't always the best. You know, I just scroll past it, and I mostly just post on our public facing page on Facebook. But that's good about Mastodon. I'm curious to like if something really bad happens at Twitter, I wonder, is everyone going to flee to Mastodon, or are people going to go back to Facebook? It's like an open question, you know?
Yeah. I've asked a few people that, you know, I follow on Twitch, like, are you on Mastodon? And a few of them say, no, I'm not trying to get any new social media accounts. And a few of them say, no, I don't know how to use Mastodon. And it's like, you know, that you can cure that in like 1 minute.
Yeah.
Just Google like how to use Mastodon and read the one paragraph that explains it.
Yeah. I think people are kind of burned out on this stuff. And, you know, yeah, I think people are just burned out on it and they don't want to join anything new. If they have even if you have just a couple thousand, or like I have 1,500 people following me on Twitter, it would take me forever to get 1,500 followers because, you know, I'm not famous. You know, I didn't get those by being famous. If I was famous, I'd have more than 1,500 followers on Twitter. So I think people just have a massive fatigue around this stuff and they don't want to sign up for any new thing.
Maybe, but, you know, maybe a collapse of Twitter is a good thing. Whatever we're doing right now, it seems to be not working.
Watching Elon freak out like on the Mastodon instance that he just rolled because Twitter fell apart would be amazing.
Yep.
And then when his Mastodon instance wasn't popular because nobody likes him, he'd fire whoever rolled the Mastodon instance for him, even if it was like his son or something.
I think Elon's instance would get instantly defederated.
Yeah, nobody would be like, nope, not this one. All right, well, what do you got next, HK?
All right, so my next story is about a Svelte Hackathon. If you're unfamiliar with Svelte, it is a front-end framework. Svelte is a front-end framework similar to React, but it's much leaner than React, and it doesn't have it doesn't do what's called DOM diffing. So for large applications, it tends to be a lot faster. And I use Svelte personally in a lot of my projects. I run and maintain a library of UI components for Svelte called Svelte Material UI. And the Svelte Hackathon is a hackathon put on by Svelte Society. It runs from February 17th, so it's been going on for over a month until April 17th. So if you're interested in entering, you only have a few more weeks. And it's basically the rule is you just have to use Svelte as the main dependency. That is not a technical term. You know, projects don't have like main dependencies. So I'm not sure how they will judge that, but it's got some pretty nice prizes. Grand prize, it's got 3 categories, and grand prize in each category is $3,000, and then second prize is $1,000. And it has some other prizes that are like some like pro accounts on a couple websites. And also I'm entering, so no one else should enter. Don't do it. Do not enter.
Why are you even telling us about this?
No, it's awesome. You should definitely enter. You know, I'm a big proponent of Svelte. It's a really cool library, so I'm super excited that they're putting on hackathons now. You know, I think it'll do wonders for like Svelte's popularity. Not that it needs it. Svelte is already growing like a lot. My project, the project that I'm doing, is an ActivityPub server written in Svelte Kit, which is like their server library that uses Svelte on both the back end and the front end. So I'm really excited to have like my own version of Mastodon that runs on Svelte.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Any questions or?
Nope.
That's
All right.
That's pretty highly technical and specific to people who use Svelte. So hopefully we have some Svelte users out there in the audience who, I don't know, will take away your $3,000 grand prize from you.
That's okay. I like seeing all the cool projects. So I'm really excited to see what they choose as grand prize, second prize. I'm just excited to see all of them.
Well, very nice. Well, I guess it's my turn now. So my first story is Elon, of course. Elon wants to test Neuralink on humans in cooperation with like neurology and neurosurgery labs. What could go wrong? Well, they tried to get FDA approval in 2020. It was denied. The objections included you're putting a lithium-ion battery in your head, among others. There was one of the objections was that the wire leads might move around inside your brain. Probably not good either. And Neuralink is currently being investigated by the FDA for recklessly killing animals via surgical mishaps and toxic chemicals. The transportation department is also investigating for mishandling implants that have been removed from dead animals. And the next thing on my document here is yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did not realize they're putting lithium batteries in the brain.
Well, they're not yet. They're asking for they think the FDA should give them permission to start testing this.
Lithium batteries explode.
Yeah.
I would assume that's why the FDA said, "Oh, that's one of our concerns."
Oh my God, that's like you're putting an explosive in your brain. Why would you do that? Why would anyone ever do that?
Because they love Elon Musk so much.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I would assume that the lithium ion battery would be outside your head and like leads would go in, but I mean that causes other problems. But yeah, I thought like Neuralink was a cool idea, but then yeah, that company is just doing horrible things.
Yeah, my guess here is that Elon's been shopping this around to like neuroscience and neurosurgery companies. And based on his previous behavior, excuse me, he's maybe doing this with the intent to try to skirt the FDA regulations.
Yeah.
And to try to get like some reputable sounding company to start doing human trials, whether or not he gets the permission. I'm just speculating here, so don't sue me. My God. But that would be my guess here. And if the battery isn't in your brain, it's not like it's gonna be 10 feet away from you, right? It's gonna be like, I don't know, duct tape to your head or some shit. So
also, like, why would we need to put things in your brain? Like, that's what I don't understand. Is like, well, whatever you put in your brain, if it, whatever goes inside your skull, it's eventually going to be obsolete, right?
Yes.
Well, I think they're talking about like little, probes or leads or something that goes inside your brain. And you can't, because it's really difficult from outside your skull to measure stuff in the brain. So like, but adding in like little probes or something, little metal like leads or something is much easier to pinpoint where, little voltages are coming from in the brain, which makes it easier to do this. And that's kind of what they're trying to do. I don't think it's the entire tech, but then again, yeah, I could totally see like if some of those, if like the cables or something gets jerked, that could really cause a lot of problems.
Not just bad readings, but it might like scrape along the inside of your brain.
Yeah.
My question on this is like, why do we have to do this at all?
We don't. It's just like one of those sci-fi things that people think are cool.
There was,
but has serious issues.
There was essentially a Doctor Who episode about this, where like he goes into this, like he's in like some like space station or something, and everyone's like hooking things into the back of their head into this like port that they had installed. No, it was their forehead. It was like this port that they had installed in their forehead, and it would just like open up like a little flower.
That's port 88. That's the next evolution.
And the doctor was basically saying like, this technology is like old, like you guys should be past this. What's happening right here? And at the end of the episode, one of his like companions had the little port thing installed in his brain, and then like he goes back in time, and they somehow his parents somehow activate it, and it opens up, and they scream. But it's like this is what we're leading to, is like putting stuff in our brains. This is a bad idea.
Yeah,
we all know this is a bad idea, right?
I mean, I'm not for it.
Like your brain is pretty fragile. If you're gonna be scooping around in your brain, it should be for a medical reason, not for a not because you want the latest and greatest, Android running in your brain.
So this will be the first time I've ever used the soundboard on the technology show. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
We'll be able to put technology directly into our brains.
I had to turn it on. I had to turn it on and everything. Turn it back
yeah,
off,
that is something we should not be doing. Like, bad idea. Really bad idea. We can do pretty much everything from outside the skull. Like you said, it's harder. It is harder, for sure. Yeah. It's harder. But like, would you rather have a big old helmet that uses a lot more energy, or would you rather have someone drilling into your skull and putting wires in your brain?
Well, neither, probably. Like right now, I don't think I need either of those things right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this is the problem. I mean, the one we can even leave out the fact that this is like a person that many think are like immoral, who would maybe have access to your brain data, which I don't like. But it's also just, it's like invasive surgery, like and then I lose the thread. There we go.
Yeah.
It's not even like cosmetic surgery where you think you'll look better after, hopefully, right?
Right.
This is just like, what is this, like it's like a galaxy brain implant? I mean, like what the
I mean, it doesn't even make you smarter. Like, it's not like you're connecting yourself to the internet or something, but like maybe you can move a robotic arm with your brain.
Yeah, but like, that's what these are for.
Right. We can already,
I have a controller to do all of that.
Yeah. This is bad. I knew that we were probably all going to be in agreement here. And if you're checking out the YouTube video and you are a person who believes that Neuralink is good, you could leave a comment in the YouTube video as to why you believe that, and then maybe everybody could pile onto that person in the comments. Because I just can't imagine this like, this is just one of those things where I think it's like a vanity project for the guy, where he wants to be claiming that he's linking computers and your brain so that he can sort of build this I guess a legend about himself, be it in his own mind or in the mind of his fans. I think this is mostly marketing for a one Mr. Elon Musk, and otherwise it's probably vaporware, because I don't see the FDA approving this at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
At least not right now. So that's my first story. My next story, we watched some of the TikTok hearings last night on our news show, and it was pretty crazy. The people didn't know what they were talking about. And then I came across this article about France. France has done kind of a smart thing here, and they've kind of avoided the controversy about TikTok altogether, at least for government devices. They're like, hey, if this is your work phone for the government, maybe don't install recreational apps on it at all. Just use it for work. You have your personal phone. And I think that's like, if you're gonna ban TikTok maybe from the government devices, just ban Twitter and Facebook and Instagram too, because you don't need all that stuff on your work phone. And of course, there's carve outs for like if your job is to tweet on behalf of the French government or whatever city you're a media coordinator for. Of course, you will have access to the apps like on a per app basis based on what you're doing for work. But this kind of gets rid of. They managed to like sidestep the controversy about TikTok altogether by being like, well, just don't have any recreational apps on your government phone. Just have the apps that we give you because this is your work phone. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think
Makes
that's a good
sense to me.
idea. I'd be interested to know, like, for some apps, would they consider it recreational? Like, what about LinkedIn? Is that recreational?
No, but they don't want to be searching for another job.
Right. And I think LinkedIn would probably fall under that category because you don't need that for the function of, maybe if you were hiring, if you were the hiring manager for some department, maybe you'd have LinkedIn on your phone. But again, can't you just log in? If you're the hiring person, wouldn't you rather do that on a computer anyway, where you have like a nice big screen and a mouse and keyboard to like reply to people?
Well, you'd still want access on your phone in case you needed it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But and they said they're carving out exceptions for people who might need these apps for what they're doing as their job. So yeah, the hiring manager might have LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is good, and they like sidestepped the TikTok problem, right? Because they're well, that's just a recreational app, and why this is your work phone. Like I wouldn't put if I had a work phone, like in addition to my regular phone, I wouldn't log into my Facebook on there. It's none of their, like, what I'm doing on Facebook is none of their business anyway. Like people shouldn't be doing that anyway, I don't think.
Yeah, I've had work phones before, and I just had work stuff on my work phone.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't even want to have my work phone with me if I wasn't working. Like,
Yeah.
I would keep it in, like, my car if I had to be somewhere where I had access to it. But, like, yeah. I didn't even, like, when I worked at LinkedIn, they had this thing where they were like, yeah, you can put LinkedIn stuff on your personal phone. You just got to like register your phone with us and let us install this like app that can control your phone. And I was like, nope,
I'll take yours.
Yeah.
I'll take yours.
Like, why would you want personal stuff on your work phone if they have like full control of it?
Yeah. But let's say Viva France. This is a great idea. And I think other countries should just follow suit. And I think companies might avoid a lot of problems doing this too, because now you're not surveilling your employees when they're off work, which is a problem. Your employees aren't putting a bunch of crap on the phone you gave them, and like when if they're in a place where they're like, hey, don't bring your personal devices, please only bring your work device because this is a work event or whatever. Well, now they're not tweeting because there's no Twitter on their work phone. So this is like, I would imagine that there's tons of companies that already have this policy, right? Do you think the people that work at Palantir are allowed to have anything on the phone that Peter Thiel issues them? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like people in like high security jobs in the private sector probably already have these kinds of restrictions on them.
Yep.
So yeah, good on France. They managed to like not make this about TikTok specifically. And it's probably better for their employees and better for whoever's managing all the phones, because you kind of know what's going to be on the phone too. It's better for the IT department. You don't give them access to the app store. Just give them the phone with what they need for work. That's great. Works. I think this is a great idea for everybody. And it's a very smart thing that France did.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
All right. Well, I guess that's the show. Matt, I think it might be your turn to read the show out. So
What?
Why don't you go ahead and do
read
that?
the show out? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Let me get up. I wasn't expecting it. So
Surprise, you have to talk more.
Well, that was our show. Thanks for listening, watching, whatever you're doing to see our show. It was great. You can check out other Echoplex Media shows on echoplexmedia.com. And we got live shows going on at twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. And also, don't forget to give us money at patreon.com/echoplex. Have a great Tekken day.